The scent of lies had always made my stomach churn, long before everything fell apart. They were her favorite, those white flowers, the ones shaped like trumpets, heralding some grand arrival. But today, they smelled like a funeral. A funeral for something once beautiful, something I had cherished. I heard the lock click, the jangle of keys, and then the slight push as the door creaked open. I didn't look up from the worn pages of my book, not yet. I was waiting, listening. Her heels tapped on the hardwood floor, a sound that used to make my heart flutter. Today, it felt like a hammer blow, each tap echoing the fractured rhythm of my own heart. "Honey, I'm home," she sang, her voice too bright. I could hear the fake smile clinging to every word. It grated on my nerves like nails on a chalkboard. I kept my eyes glued to the page, pretending to be absorbed in the lives of fictional characters, while my own life spiraled into something tragic. "Oh, look," she said, her voice now closer. "I got you some lilies. I know how much you love them." The blatant lie hung in the air, thick and suffocating. That's when I finally looked up. I forced a smile, a tight, small thing that probably looked more like a grimace. "They're beautiful, Clara," I said, my voice too calm. I knew it, but years of hiding my emotions had made me an expert. She placed the flowers in the vase on the coffee table. She was dressed in her usual summer dress, the one always a little too vibrant for the beige walls of our living room. Her blonde hair, which I used to love running my fingers through, was perfectly styled, not a strand out of place. She looked the same, except she wasn't the same Clara I had fallen in love with. Then she stopped. Her eyes widened. Her perfectly painted lips parted slightly, and the color drained from her face, leaving her as pale as the lilies she had brought. Where is it?" she whispered. I knew exactly what she was asking. The space on the wall above the fireplace where our wedding picture had hung for 8 years was empty. I had taken it down that morning. The hooks were gone. The wall wiped clean. No trace remained. "What's missing, Clara?" I asked, my voice still calm, almost detached. I wanted her to say it, to give voice to the guilt she had tried so hard to hide. "The picture," she said, her voice trembling. "The wedding picture. Where is it?" She was pacing now, her heels clicking nervously against the floor. The sound echoed in the sudden silence. I finally closed my book, a heavy biography of Abraham Lincoln, and placed it on the coffee table. "I took it down," I said, my voice steady. She stopped pacing and turned to face me, her eyes searching mine. Panic flickered in them, replacing the fear. "Why?" she asked, her voice shaking. I leaned back in my chair, finally meeting her gaze. "Because, Clara," I began, "a picture is supposed to capture a moment in time. A memory. A snapshot of a specific point in a relationship." I paused, letting the words hang in the air. "And that picture, the wedding picture, it's a lie?" She recoiled as though I'd slapped her. Confusion and disbelief flooded her face. "What are you talking about?" Her voice quivered. "It was supposed to be the best day of our lives," I continued. "The beginning of a life full of promise. But it doesn't represent who we are anymore, does it? It's just a picture. A reminder of something that no longer exists." I watched as she tried to piece it together. Her confusion slowly gave way to dawning realization. Her eyes narrowed, and for a brief moment, I saw a flash of anger, quickly suppressed. "You know," I said, my voice colder now. "It wasn't a question. It was a statement of fact." She froze. "Yes, Clara. I know," I added, letting the silence thicken with the unspoken accusations that filled the space between us. "How long?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Long enough," I replied, not elaborating. I didn't tell her about the burner phone I'd found hidden beneath the lining of her purse, or the countless texts and late-night calls that painted a clear picture of her double life. I didn't tell her how I had meticulously documented each betrayal, each lie, an emotionally exhausting task that nearly broke me. "Who is he?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Does it matter?" I replied, my tone flat. "His name won't change the fact that you betrayed me, Clara. It won't erase the months of lies and deception." She dropped onto the couch, her face buried in her hands. The lilies sat forgotten on the coffee table. "I don't know what to say," she sobbed, her perfect facade finally shattered. "Don't," I said, my voice firm but calm. "Don't say anything. For once, just listen." I pulled a small, flat box from the side table. It wasn't a jewelry box like the ones I had given her before. It was a thick cardboard box tied with simple brown string. I placed it on the coffee table in front of her, watching as she slowly looked up. Her red, swollen eyes were filled with questions, confusion, and a flicker of hope. She untied the string with trembling hands. Inside, she didn't find jewels, but stacks of carefully organized papers, bank statements, phone records, travel itineraries, and a few pictures printed on glossy paper. They weren't the loving kind. These photos captured stolen moments, clandestine meetings, and hushed whispers between her and him. She didn't say a word as she sifted through the evidence. Her face grew even paler as she realized the extent of my knowledge. The hope that had flickered in her eyes was extinguished, replaced by pure, unadulterated fear. "Everything," I said, my voice low but clear. "Everything you did, every lie you told, every secret rendezvous, it's all there, Clara. Documented." The weight of her betrayal finally crushed her. The sob that escaped her was raw and gut-wrenching. She looked up at me, her eyes pleading, but there was no pity in mine. Only a profound weariness. I made a mistake," she whispered, her voice choked with tears. "A mistake?" I repeated, dripping with sarcasm. "This wasn't a mistake, Clara. This was a choice. A long, calculated, deliberate choice to break our vows. To destroy our marriage. To destroy me." She didn't say anything. She just sat there, defeated. The truth was finally visible in her eyes. "I'm leaving," I said, standing up. "I've already packed a bag. I'll file for divorce. You'll be served within the week. There's a lawyer's letter among those papers explaining the details of the prenup we signed on that day, the day that photograph was taken. The day you're no longer a part of." I walked to the door without turning back, leaving her there, surrounded by the ruins of her deception and lies. The sound of her heels, once so joyful to me, now sounded like the death knell of something that was never real. As I stepped outside, I took a deep breath. For the first time in months, the air felt clean. The weight had finally lifted. It wasn't her pain that satisfied me, it was my freedom. In the memory of her white face, surrounded by her white lies, I found a revenge more satisfying than I could have ever imagined. I drove away, leaving her with the quiet hum of her regrets and the silent whisper of a marriage that was never meant to be. And I knew, with a certainty that settled deep in my bones, that I was finally free.